Hi everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row, and today is Potato Day. We are actually going to do our spring crop of potatoes, not tomatoes, potatoes. And we actually stagger our plantings now. We have a spring crop, a summer crop, and then we kind of try to push even a third one in there so that we can keep harvesting potatoes fresh from the garden. And remember, we have 945 square feet of space in our house. So when you have like 1,000 pounds of potatoes, it is not realistic for us to put them in our home. So we try to have a great crop in the spring that we just, when we need it, we go out, we dig what we need, or sometimes we'll dig out, 20 pounds of potatoes and put them in our potato bin in the kitchen. So our whole point is to make sure that we have this great staggered planting. So right now it is the end of March. We're going to be harvesting these most likely at the end of June, but in like about a month to 6 weeks from now, we're also going to plant what we call our summer harvesting potatoes, and that's usually the bulk of our potatoes. But then we're going to also have that third one that we will do where we are getting fresh potatoes out from the garden in the fall. So we kind of try to stagger that. It really, really helps with space. But we have some secrets that we have. I don't know if you can see my face. We have some secrets that we have with our plantings, and we actually got these from an Amish friend when we lived on the other side of Ohio. So here is one of our potatoes, and as you can see, it has lots of sprouts growing. So we've got 1, 2, 3, I don't know if you can see, 4, and back here on the back side, there's even 2 potential places that are just barely starting to sprout. That would be 5, and this one down here seems to be pushing. If you can see that little tiny place, these are just eyes on your, and actually there's another one in front. Actually there's several more in front. See this right here? Can you see that right there? These are all potential sprouts. And so what we do is I'm going to cut these so that there are at least 2 eyes on every piece. But I want to say, unless it's a huge potato, don't cut it into 3s. I mean, half is probably good enough. And if you have huge seed potatoes, you could probably cut them into 3. But you also want to give the sprouts in the plant a little bit of potato to, I say, live off of, because it is sprouting from this, and you do want to leave it with something to grow from. So there is lots of stories about depression farmers who just put like literally almost skins in the ground and they grew potatoes, which is a possibility. But if you want great big potatoes, let's do this and I'll show you our trick. Okay, so back to cutting this. I'm going to cut this one in half. And so I've got a sprout here, 1, 2, 3 on this side. I might be able to squeeze this one in, but I'm not going to be that picky. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut where I can. I'm trying to be careful to not cut through an actual eye. We want as many chances as possible. Oh, that was close. Okay, so now let me show you. I've got 1. Here's a possibility of 2, 3, 4. There's 4 eyes on this side. Now here is the Amish secret, okay? So I have, this is nothing but wood ash, only wood ash. And you dip your cut side down in the wood ash, and then you let it set for about 24 hours just to dry. We put them on a tray right here. That's all there is to it. Okay, so the whole point is that wood ash has a lot of sulfur and different compounds in it. What we discovered is one of the very first years that we planted potatoes here, we just dealt with a lot of disease. A lot of the potatoes themselves underground would just go bad. We didn't have a good yield. Once we actually started using this method, we have amazing yields. Now last year we didn't have a super good yield, and I think part of that was because I let my boys plant them without me. There is a learning curve. And and they kind of let the potato patch get completely overrun with weeds. Clearly you still have to weed and do certain things, but I am going to say that this is one of the greatest hacks for potatoes is to go ahead and roll them in ash. There's lots of people who roll them in ash and plant them out right away. That sulfur compound it also helps keep bugs away from it too. They don't like the smell of that sulfury compound. But it is, for us, this is an essential thing. We just know every spring, every time we're gonna plant out potatoes, we gotta get out the wood ash. So it's also something for you to do. If you have a wood burner like we do, that's another great thing to do with your ashes. But too, if you don't have that, I mean, look at this. This right here is nothing but a wood pile that we burned. And so you could take this ash as well and roll them in. As long as it's all wood ash, you can use it. So if you have a potato like this, looks like a Fraggle Rock potato. Am I dating myself, Elijah? It has a bunch of eyes, but it's all on one side. There is technically one like right in the center, but if you look, there actually is not eyes on this second half. This is not an eye, and there's maybe a potential of an eye over here. I plant the whole potato when that happens. I mean, you don't want to waste space, and you want to make sure you have a good harvest. So if you're in question about it, just plant the whole potato. It should be pretty distinct. Let me see if I can find another potato. Hang on. Well, it should be distinct like this last potato that we did. So this is one side and you see all the sprouts on it. And then this is the other side where you see 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 sprouts on this side. So it should be very distinct. If it is not distinct, plant the whole potato. So let's go over to the garden and we'll show you how we're planting our potatoes out this year. So this year, we're actually trying to prevent crooked rows, and because of that, Christopher has set up a straight line for us so that we don't get crooked. And the reason why that's good is for when you start to harvest and you know exactly where everything is because it's a straight line. This year, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create this straight line, but we're going to go about 12 inches down. And actually we'll do that first. We're gonna go 12, Elijah's down at the end. I might go somewhere in the middle, and we're going to go ahead and not just turn this over, but we're gonna go 12 inches down and pull all the dirt out. So here we go. Okay, well, we actually have dug our 12-inch trench all the way down. It's a 100-foot row, and now we're going to get to the business of planting the potatoes. So what I want to show you is we have our 12-inch trench here, and we actually had a tape measure and we actually measured it. So this is a 12-inch trench all the way down. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our cut potatoes. So like this is the first one. And so it has already dried. It's nice and beautiful. And so we're going to put it down just like that. And then I want to make sure that there is 12 inches between every potato. So now I'm going to grab this one, and there's 12 inches. Give each potato plenty of room, because that gives big potatoes, like 1.5 pounds. Like, you want big potatoes. So also I want to say we're going to cover this halfway. Once all the potatoes are done, we're going to add our amendments to the soil, which we'll go over in a minute. But then we're going to add 6 inches in this 12-inch trench. And then we'll come back in a few weeks, and instead of like trying to find dirt and mulch and all of these things, we'll do a second hilling that will just bring it to here. It'll be flat. And then if we have to hill after that with compost or straw or whatever, then it's not that big of a deal, because finding soil or hilling them up creates so much havoc. It's incredible. But this, I feel like this is a better option. So we're gonna get started on that. We have super rich soil, and these are very, very common in this soil. It's awesome. I had to show that. So the first half of the row has the cut potatoes in it. The second half of this row is going to have full potatoes in it. And we always try to run this test, but I was letting the boys run this test. And this is, when we run tests, I really need to be a part of it, because I'm usually the one that can follow through a little bit better than they can. So this year, we're gonna go ahead and do the second half of this row. We might do this with the whole potato bed, where this half of the bed is whole potatoes. We'll just see. We'll see how much we get through, what we can do. So I'm gonna get started on that. Okay, I'm gonna throw in bone meal. That is a must with potatoes. The bone meal is gonna give it the phosphorus that it really needs. And then I'm also going to use Biotone starter to help with root development and all that good stuff. And I only have a little bit of Biotone left. So when I run out, I'm gonna start with plant tone. So let's get this hole fertilized. Well, we finished that 100-foot row. As you can see, that we have space still to fill in, and we're going to use that once the growth gets to about 12 inches high. Then we'll go ahead and hill that up again, and we may even add more dirt to all of this so that we can keep hilling. But we are completed for today. If I can make any suggestions, especially with potatoes, definitely put bone meal in. Even if you use another fertilizer or you use compost, you'll still want to put bone meal in. In our home compost, I usually take our animals, like after I've made chicken broth, or I've made you know, we've made something with our lamb, and I usually crush that down and put it in our compost. But even still yet, I buy bone meal and I add to the whole. So I just want to remind you that you can have several seasons of potatoes. So get out there, even though it's March, the end of March, if you're in a zone where you can plant. Go get those potatoes in the ground. They can even handle some cold. So remember, if we can do Amish hacks and get huge potatoes, anybody can. Thanks. Bye.